Hi there, I'm Gabriel with Divya Stone's Crystal Casting Divination Readings, and welcome to my channel. This is your week ahead reading for August the 16th, and I just need to give a little special shout out, happy birthday to my daughter. She's the one who made me a mom, and I'm very proud of her and just wanted to acknowledge that. So beyond that, we're about to do a reading for the week for the collective. We are going to ask Spirit the direct question, what do we need to know this week, both collectively and individually, to navigate our lives, the energies, whatever shows up for us, whatever we're dealing with in terms of challenges or good times or work, love, relationships, health, all of it, right? So because this is a collective reading, some of the messages may not hit you exactly, but usually we can apply these messages to some area of our life. So this is kind of to be taken as a general reading, and if you want a specific reading for you, your life, what's going on with you, and to be able to ask questions and get answers and guidance, please book a private reading with me. I'm available to work with one-on-one. I can do Zoom, I can do phone. Click on the link in my bio and it will connect you to me. So I'm very appreciative that you're here, and I'm going to go ahead and choose the 3 main stones that we'll be working with for the reading randomly from this bag. Then I'll scatter them on the board, and we'll be combining the energy of the stones with the meaning of the symbol where they land on the board. And that's going to bring up the messages that we need to hear. So I do work with the stone in pairs, and because there'll be a connection between the 2 that match each other. And my intuition comes into play as well. Oops. So it is a combo. It's a group effort here. I've got rose quartz and rhodonite, which are very similar. So I think Spirit's really trying to tell us something. And bloodstone. So those are our main 3 stones. Spirit has asked, or has heard our question. Maybe Spirit's also asked a question. All right. So we're just going to trust wherever these beauties land. Oh. All right, now I'm going to choose the guide stone. It goes in the middle on the eye, and that's just kind of our overarching energy for this week. All right. Going to create a view for you where you can see what I see. Okay, as always, I'm going to start with our guide stone. That's the black obsidian in the middle on the eye. Guide stone meaning this is kind of the overarching energy. This is kind of what to keep our focus on and what to remember throughout the week. So black obsidian, grounding, protective, helps clear negative energy. So the first message here is to stay grounded. Really make sure that you're solid, you're stable. Do what you need to do to get grounded if you start to feel a little off kilter. And really guard your energy this week. So don't let other people's negativity, opinions, control issues, ego stuff come in and affect you. It would be a good week for you to be maybe a little more internal and a little bit more, I don't want to say stay, just be by yourself, but be mindful of how much energy you're allowing in. Even when you're around other people. This stone also came up in last week's reading in the context of patience and perseverance. So we have this theme continuing here. We're in a bit of an upheaval. We had our solar eclipse on Wednesday, as well as the new moon in Cancer. And so this is a big energy. There's a lot shifting, a lot moving. There are things that are on their way out, there are things that are on their way in. And so we need to really be patient with this process. So that's another just continuation of that theme. And Black Obsidian also really does help us to get to where we want to be. So it's easier to be patient when we understand that we are headed towards manifesting what we want in our lives. So that should help. Just remember that when you start to feel restless or impatient. So let's see, we can tie back into that if we need to, but I do want to start with the bloodstone. Since the rhodonite and the rose quartz are very similar, that's going to create a theme all on its own. I'm going to do the bloodstone, and they stayed in the same section, which is somewhat unusual. It does happen, but as you can see, usually they scatter about. So these are both in what I call the family section, or your, this has to do with kind of your timeline and your ancestral lineage. So it's not just your family the way it is today. In fact, it's not that at all. It is your childhood, things that have spilled onto you from your lineage, patterns in the family. Some are great, some need healing. But there's a big transformational energy happening here should you choose to look at this. Our ancestors can be powerful allies, but we always want to make sure we call on the well ancestors if we're calling on them for support or insight or spiritual work. And we want to really focus on this bloodstone because it's a very transformational energy. And it really helps with new beginnings, breathing new life into things, the death of the old. So this is really in line with eclipses. Eclipses are about that, right? Something dying and something being born. This represents the cycle of death and rebirth. So because it is in our ancestral section, this makes total sense. This one landed smack dab on top of the skull, which does represent our ancestors and our ancestral healing work. And so it's time to take a look at some of your deep ancestral patterns, maybe trauma, and how they're affecting you, but also how do you perpetuate them? Because this is, we're a part of it, right? We were handed this baggage and maybe it didn't belong to us, but now it's in our possession. And so now we have to decide, what are we going to do with it? We can either continue these patterns that are not great, or we can choose to make a change, do the healing work so that this isn't passed down the line. Some of the patterns in our families are really good and really positive and full of empowerment and full of resourcefulness. And, so those patterns that are wonderful, would be the time to really take ownership of those and claim your birthright, and really just let yourself be proud of where you came from. Be grateful to your ancestors for the work they did, the path that they paved for you to follow in their footsteps. And even though it wasn't always wonderful and great and perfect, we want to honor what came before us. Now, this is also showing up as a core wound, okay? It's closest to the dagger, this particular bloodstone. And so this is really asking you to look at not just the wounds that you received as a child, the little dagger cuts and pokes and, stabs. Some of us were bigger than just a little poke. But this is the themes of wounding that ran through your lineage or still do run through your lineage, and to really spend some time, how should I say, gaining wisdom and understanding around what those are and how they affect you. And again, how are you perpetuating them? And if you're not perpetuating them, good for you. But you might think you're not, and that can happen in subtle ways. So just be keenly aware of that. We all play a part in that. This is not a shame thing. This is an awareness. So that's kind of what's going on in the more shadowy aspects of the energy this week. But that bloodstone is right in alignment with that transformation, rebirth, death, etc. And what do you want to let die, and what do you want to carry forward? So now that we are done with that, I want to move to the rhodonite. One is in our material world, which can be resources, money, tangible things, and our relationship to those resources. And then one is in our purpose, livelihood, and expression section. So this is kind of interesting here. Rhodonite is a stone of well-being. It reminds us that we're okay. kind of like I was talking about with the obsidian, like get grounded, you're okay. It is a stone of self-love and specifically unconditional love. So it always, to me, carries this lesson around unconditional self-love, which is kind of a tall order. We have degrees in which we love ourselves. It's a spectrum. Some days are better than others. Some wounds cause us to not love ourselves. We adopted some interesting beliefs about ourselves, again, from that ancestral lineage and from our parents in particular. And so this stone actually really does help to release that old pain and bring balance back, and it can really help soothe the nervous system and bring about personal growth. So this is a good one to have in conjunction with the messages down here. This one is pointing at Hanuman, and Hanuman is usually about service and devotion, and how are we using our resources to be in service and to give back, right? But because we're talking about this concept of unconditional self-love, this is being interpreted as how can you serve yourself? And I don't mean be self-serving in the, under the definition of being a selfish person or only out for your own gain, but I mean really serve yourself, nurture yourself. How can you use your resources this week to be good to yourself? Spend a little bit of money on you, on something that is going to be nurturing and healthy and feel that sense of well-being. Maybe it's a massage or something like that, right? Maybe you pamper yourself a little bit. But it is absolutely okay. We give so much to others, family, community, our work, our employers. There's so many places that we're being asked to give and that we choose to give. And that's a beautiful thing. And when's the last time you really just gave back to yourself? So I'd love for you to pick at least one day this week where you say, you know what? This is about me. It's my turn. Okay. And that's going to really help with that nurturing that you need. Now, up here in your purpose and livelihood section, this is about really getting clear about what direction you're going with that, right? This could be your job, or it could just be a side thing that you do. It could be a pursuit that feels like your purpose in the world. But the double arrows here signify a little bit of confusion. Like, I'm not really sure which way to go. And so when that happens, the message is kind of, don't make a move until you have all the facts, right? So if you're confused, if you're not clear on your direction in that purpose, in that livelihood, in that expression, then just take a pause, right? And to get the clarity that you need so that you can move forward, the question I want you to ask yourself is this the most loving thing that I can choose for myself? So if that has to do with your job, it has to do with your work in the world in terms of how you serve and how you show up, maybe it's time to reevaluate. maybe you're not in the most loving place. Maybe you are not in an environment that nurtures that. And by the way, the double arrows can also signify some deception and some lies, right? Where people are purposefully not giving us all the information, or they're purposefully giving us wrong information so that we can't make a good informed decision about the direction that we're going, which is also does not feel loving in any way. So if you're in a situation that's causing this kind of chaos, this kind of deception, this kind of like, what is happening here? It might be time to make plans, to make some changes so that you can be the most loving version of yourself to yourself, right? Okay. Now we're going to bring it to the rose quartz. Rose quartz is also a heart stone. It's also about love, but this is a little bit different, okay? Rose quartz is more about heart healing. Yes, it does bring about self-love, but it is also very comforting. It's gentle. It helps us release our repressed pain, our repressed hurts, and bring us back to a place of inner peace. It does ask us to be nurturing, once again, to ourselves and others, and really focus some time on healing the emotional body. And there's a big opportunity for this within some of your most important relationships this week. So the two hands that are connecting here at the fingertips, this is your relationship section, by the way. This is the type of relationship that we strive for. This is a relationship of equity, of give and take, of respecting each other's boundaries, of honoring one another, and really having a desire for deeper connection by choice, not by obligation, not through codependence, but by, wow, these two individuals are really choosing to be with one another this week and really connect. So if you have a situation where, whether it's a romantic partner, a close friend, a family member, really nurture this type of relationship this week. Really take some time. If you haven't talked to that person, maybe they don't live in town, maybe it's time to pick up the phone and call them. But make that connection, reach out, right? Because it's going to be good for your heart and theirs, right? Everybody wants to feel that. There is a bit of a transformation that could happen here for you in one or more of these types of relationships, a deepening. In the spiritual world, the other rose quartz is on the chrysalis, which is transmutation, transformation, embarking in one form and coming out in a different form. So this dissolves whatever's false. It asks us to surrender to that process of transformation. It asks us to prepare for the next level. So these relationships can be leveling up for you, which is wonderful. We always want to be evolving and growing in those areas. So the problem is that we get so busy in our lives, we get so distracted with all of the details that sometimes we're not focusing that energy where it needs to be. So the message here is this week, make sure that you connect with a deeply loved human in your life, and somebody who loves you deeply. This is going to be just very good for your soul, very good for your heart. It does keep us grounded. It reminds us of our truth. It helps us to love ourselves, where the Rhodonite is asking. So seek that support, but also be a support to that person, because remember, this is definitely a give and take energy. So some beautiful, soft, nurturing, love, heart energy this week, and some possibly intense transformational work in your inner world around your ancestral wounds and patterns. All right, that was your reading for August 16th and the week forward. I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope those messages were helpful and applicable to your life. And if not, well, maybe they weren't meant for you exactly. And the way that you can apply all of this wisdom and guidance to the collective is remembering to be in your heart space when it comes to the collective. Remembering to be a little bit patient with the collective, which can be really hard because a lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are suffering. They're in pain. They're not knowing how to act right. And, you know, it's easy to go into anger. It's easy to go into frustration. It's easy to lose hope in humanity right now. But we're being really asked to stand in something a little bit stronger, a little bit more resilient, and to activate that heart space so that we can hold, I guess, a higher vibration, cheesy as that sounds, because, you know, the more people that can do that, the better off we are. And I hope that that's what these readings are. I hope it's just a nice infusion of positive energy, of reminders, of wisdom, of hope, of support in the world. And that's why I do what I do. So do what you do in that collective as well as what you're going to do for yourself. So once again, please check the link in my bio and connect with me on all of my platforms. I appreciate anybody who follows and likes and shares and all of those wonderful things. And reach out if you'd like a private reading. And I'm just so honored to be here. And I hope you have a fabulous week. Again, happy birthday to my baby girl. And she's not a baby anymore, of course. I have grandchildren now. So just really being in a place of gratitude for all of you and for the work that I get to do in the world. It really, truly is an honor. So have a good one, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.